Hi, everybody. I'm Roy Thompson. I haven't seen you in a while, and it's good to see you today. It's June 1, in case you're watching this tape. I'm sorry I haven't been able to see. I really enjoy being here, but there's been a few things going on, and on top of it, I'm a little lazy. Anyway, here I am to bring you some stuff that I think you'll be interested in and support me in, and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I want to know, besides that, first of all, I came in today. I haven't been in here for a show, as you know, for a while. And Paul Marino still works here. And I thought I left specific orders against that. But in any case, he's our director, and he's our engineer, and all the other things. Okay, so here we are. A lot of things about the president and all, and I'm so sick of that, and I'm sure you are. One of the things that brings to mind, though, when all this is going on and all these people that are going to be shuffled around and change jobs, and you know, they talk about it like it's a crapshoot. And what happens is these guys like me and Paul and the others, you know, if we're out there working, we got to have some sort of stability in us. And I'm saying, where the hell's all our unions? You know, I mean, they cut them down, and they said, well, you know, they threaten people. And they know that if you work in a certain type of business and you start saying, you know, we're going to join a union, they say, well, if you do, you're out. You know, they really threaten them. And what bothers me is that we still are not strong enough to do away with that. We still buckle down to the wealth of the guy that gets $2.5 million for a year's service while some of his employees use food stamps. That guy still calls the shot. And I'd like to see the day when we don't let him call a shot. You know, those students that went against guns, they did a good thing. The only thing I have about, I think I've gone over this before, about demonstrations, the best one's been proven to be to stay home. And what that does is, if you stay home, nothing happens. You know, you don't have to go lay down on a sidewalk, and you don't have to break windows. You just unite and stay home. You stop commerce, and you'll get what you want. But I think that the students have, you know, gotten kids going and people going against the guns, and that's worked out to this point. It says here, you know, I'm saying you can't fight all fronts. I encourage you to get involved in a lot of things, but, you know, you can't get involved in a lot of things, but get involved in one, and use your time for that. People say, oh, I don't have time to do that, all that. Well, pick one. You know, I just joined a new one. It's called Berkshire Voters for Animals, and it's against animal cruelty. And in fact, Representative Barrett just submitted a couple of bills for us against animal cruelty, and we're going now against the racing in Great Barrington. You know, that's bringing back to life guys making money, want to make more money, and it's at the mercy of the horse. And while I'm there, I might as well get into it. It's a problem that we cannot handle by ourselves. We can't do that by ourselves. One of the things is that people suffer from the animal suffering. Okay, Great Barrington is a nice place. The town's going to make some money. All right, the cops are going to make some money. All right, Great Barrington's going to make some money. But who's going to lose? The horses. Let's start with them. It says here that if they run too young, it damages their muscles. It shuts down their life expectancy. It does a lot of things, and what do you do with them? What do you do with all that? And here's a thing written by Heather Bellow, and she said, these animals end up in a dog food cans in glue. And I believe that. I believe that. I think they turn the hooves into glue. And it's too bad that we have to go through that to have horse racing. Have gambling as gambling. The thing with that too is when I say Great Barrington would make money, you got to remember they're going to need to put more police officers on. They're going to need more traffic control. So it tells me there'll be more damage to property, including their highways. And it doesn't bring everybody into good times. Remember now, everybody was hot on all these casinos. Well, they're not all doing that well, and they're going to build more. So I don't know where the money comes from. Only some of it. And some of it comes from poor guys who work for a living are going to hit it big. I'm going to make $1 million, right? Give me that. I'll double it at the racetrack. Excuse me. On that, children suffer because they don't get the attention. Believe me that they should. Okay? Families fight over this thing. It's terrible to see what they go through at times because they gamble. I knew a guy that gambled on the horses. He borrowed money from the credit union to borrow money from a bank that he went through. He ended up with a loan shark and paying 20%, and they threatened his life. And he got a divorce. I guess that was the only good thing that could happen to him. But, you know, he got a divorce, and he told me, he said, I don't have any health insurance. I can't buy health insurance. That's awful. But gambling can do that to you. It's an epidemic, in my opinion. And it doesn't make any good feel. It doesn't bring a community together, believe me. All right? People go down there and I'm going to win some money. Maybe, and I hope they do. But I'm really sad that Great Barrington wants to, they are not, but people want to look backwards. Because the guys from Boston don't care. They got the money to put up. They lose a few hundred. It's nothing. But when guys like me go to the track and lose 50, 60 bucks, it's probably the groceries, you know. So you got to take a look at it. If you know that you shouldn't be there, don't be there. You want to spend money on gambling, buy a lottery ticket. Spend $1 and you're all right. You got a bigger chance of making a lot of money. And I said about John Barrett, you know, one of the things about, he's our local representative, and being 26 years as mayor of North Adams, he must know something, and I'm sure he does, because I've talked with him. He's a friend of mine. And he's open and willing to do these things. Like he's got a phone system at the Adams Town Hall. You call the Adams Town Hall, 743-8300, and he has an extension there. It's 126. But you call Adams Town Hall, and he's not there. He's got a person there to answer the phone and take messages. I think it's pretty good, and I think he's handling a lot of cases at one time, and that's good news. You know, I feel the horses, you know, I was on a board of health and Adams for 15 years, and people called me as a board of health member because they knew I liked animals about horses. And I went and I found a couple of horses in Cheshire, ribs showing, no blanket on them, in a winter, in a half a stall like, okay? So I got people interested they should be in it. That happened a couple of times to me. And why people have horses, just like I always say that about dogs, why people have horses like that is beyond me. They're beyond working, and they're not riding horses, so why are they there? You know, what I say is when you see something like that, report it. You don't have to give your name. Somebody's going to knock on a door, a guy like me when I was there, and I get things squared away. And that's what'll happen. But my favorite guys are the dogs, you know that. And I'd like to say that my dog has been the love of my life, and I think that people shun them too much, and people don't treat them right. And this thing that this organization that I joined is Berkshire County Voters for Animals, includes especially dogs. And if you see any problem with dogs, call it in. Call it in to the police station. They'll get in touch with the animal officer. They are now organizing a shed or a shelter near McCann's, you know, where the chemical plant was. They're dividing it off into 3 sections for Adams, North Adams, and Williamstown. The problem is they cut the towns down to 1 animal officer. So we've got to pull some of that together, you know, and that goes for horses and the whole 9 yards, cats, dogs, whatever it is. And I think that it's wise if you do that. The dog is your best friend. And when you see the other guy abusing that dog, you got to turn it in. I left some things unnoticed here about the horses, I guess, but I went over them quite well. Again, please don't do that. You know, I can't watch the Kentucky Derby. I've been to that race course. I've not the big races, just races, and I don't know why I went. I went to see the track. I saw a couple races. I'd seen the track and I left. It was a very barren day. They had a few thousand people there. But I watched those horses run, and they say, well, they like it. I don't know. I never got a letter from them saying they liked it. They just do what they're told to do, especially when they get beat. I mean, physically get beat. Back to the dogs. We got to get rid of the puppy mills in Massachusetts. There's a Massachusetts law that says, you know, about cruelty to animals, and you can get it off your computer, and it tries to explain what some of the cruelties are. One of the cruelties I don't understand, it says unnecessary torture. Now, I don't understand that part of it, but I've written to them and said, you know, that doesn't belong in there, but I'm only one guy. So when I get into the group that's, you know, Berkshire County taxpayers for animals, voters for animals, I think we're going to bend on that a little more, because I don't see any of that, and it's very specific and otherwise. But really, you know, Adams has got somewhere around 1,400 dogs. And I see some dogs that I should get involved, I shouldn't get involved, or whatever. And you don't have to get involved. The way you can get involved, and nobody's going to know if you make a phone call. The other thing is that the police chief in Adams, I've talked to about this, is that I said, you know, a dog is being abused. You know it on a daily basis, but when it's happening, you don't see it. How do you report it? You call the police, they show up, and it's too late. So I said, how about a camera? He said, okay, take a picture. The only approval you have to have for that picture is the person who took the photo, put their name on it, and explained what happened. Mail it to the Adams Police Department, or the North Adams Police Department, or the Williamstown Police Department. And if they feel there's something in that photo or series of photos or that video, if they feel there's something there, they'll press charges. And Chief Tarse explained to me how he did do that with one dog. The dog had been in trouble, and they were leaving a police station, and the stupid owner kicked the dog. So they arrested him for cruelty. Now, that's dumb. But, you know, it's there for the helping. The police will help you. And they go, well, you know, I called them and they didn't come. Well, they're spread out. Don't give up. Who's going to protect them? You see all these sad pictures on TV and in magazines and all that kind of stuff. And God almighty, why people have those. I remember probably 30 years ago, a guy down in Pennsylvania had a puppy mill. They told him he had to shut it down. And he shot to death 80 dogs. Shot them to death. Can you imagine those that were alive watching this guy go around and shooting them? But that's a puppy mill. And when people say to me, oh, I adopted this animal, he was down in South Carolina being abused. You don't have to be in South Carolina. First of all, I think that the Southerners do a lot of that to us. They have the puppy mills, they send them up here, and we all go, oh, we should be taking care of these guys. And a lot of people do. I think we should adopt locally because the paperwork and so forth is easier to handle, like I did. I adopted a dog a couple of years ago. You know, stay as close to home as you can. Because these guys that are, you know, like you see the photos of the pilots that fly dogs into good locations. But most of them are coming, not most of them, but many are coming from puppy mills. We do not need puppy mills. You ever see pictures of a puppy mill? How they're cramped into these little cages, little things. They just about can turn around and they're there until they produce a lot of a fold of them, and out they go. And then somebody gets them, as you saw on TV not too long ago, and they want to take them to where they live. And so what do? They shove them in a cargo area, or better yet, they put them in the overhead, like that little dog that the nut flight attendant girl said, he'll be all right, stuffed him in an overhead, and the dog died from suffocation. She should have lost her job. The way the people are losing their jobs on TV today, that girl should have lost her job and been fined. Stuffed a little guy. And what bothers me probably more than that, you got a plane full of people that did nothing, including the owner. The owner let them do it. My goodness, where the hell are people that are supposed to be helping it? We're supposed to make it a better community. The woman was crying. That doesn't do any good. They stuffed him in there and he flew for a couple hours. Dead. God, where are people? Anyway, going along, I say, you know, October 26th, we're hoping to get the blessing of the animals. That's the day that they do it. There's a lot of dates on calendars to say it, but from what I understand, October 26th, and that would be a good time. You got plenty of time to pack a lunch and wherever they're going to do this. And one year I went down to St. Stan and Father John did it. I don't know who would do it now locally. But if you find out, you can go down and visit with your friends and meet some dogs. And I'll tell you, you meet a lot of good people. A lot of good people. Not all dog owners are, bad. I'd say most of them are good. But we have to take care of that. We can't, who's going to watch after them? I had a lady that worked with me in a redemption center, a nice lady, and she said to me, I'm so glad you do what you do because somebody has to protect the animal. All right? I've been doing some reading on it, how the animal is your best friend. They're more loyal to you than most people will ever be. Most people will ever be, including family. A dog won't turn on you until you do something to it. And don't tell me the story about the bulldogs that are attacking people, okay? There's something there that makes them do it. Anyway, the racing circuit for horses, and the same thing was for dogs, they retire them at the racetrack and they sell them. Like I said, the horses go for whatever. And dogs, I don't know why people buy them. It says here that unlike the international racing circuit, the United States racing permits injury masking, pain-killing drugs. They say it's okay. You want to shoot this horse up, help yourself. Some veterinarians say is the same cause for catastrophic breakdown. When they run these dogs and horses, they run too young, they damage their muscles, and then they go happy land soon. Congress talked about drug abuse to the sport to press the federal legislation to stop drugging horses up to the limits. They have a limit, and the limit should be 0. But they got a limit, and they reach it. It also says that glue factories would go to the fairs, like Great Barrington would be, the race course. They go there, and they buy horses in claiming races, and then they turn them into glue. And there's countries that eat horse flesh. All right, so there's a big call for that, because not many Americans eat it. So they like the horse flesh. It says the equivalent of they buy them equivalent to a tag sale. The awful part of some gambling is something that's alive and that has the things that it is alive becomes a vehicle for profit. Okay? So they murdered this horse and they turn him into glue and they turn him into horse flesh and they feed it to people. And that's sad. That's really sad. You know, I know I pound on a lot, and I guess I do because not enough of people do. You know, when you're going to take a dog on a trip, you gotta give them a checkup. The guy that was going to run for he was our state senator, right? He took his dog up. He ran for president. I forget his name. But anyway, you know, nice looking guy, and they sneaked the camera and they caught him saying things he shouldn't. But in any case, he took his dog up to New Hampshire and he put it on a rack on top of the car in a cage. Wee-wee. And that guy wanted to be our president. Well, he was our governor, I guess, but Jesus, you know. And dogs, many dogs don't need to be muzzled. You got to go someplace to veterinarians or real good dog trainers. Now, I know some people who say they know how to train dogs, yet they don't. You don't hit a dog. You ever watch the guy, the lucky dog on TV? He never says bad. You're good, you're good, you're good. Encourage them. They've been brutalized for everything. The Second War, I don't know if it was the Russians or what, they used to tie small gas cans to them and chase them out, and they'd run amongst the guys in tanks and stuff and blow up. You know, I don't think that's a nice thing either. We overfeed them because we think they're good. They like, oh, he likes to eat, and you're being mean to your dog. That's actually that's animal cruelty. All right, animals shouldn't be moved from place to place too much. They get centered in a place. And if you do change the location, you should bring them to a veterinarian. Find out if there's been any changes, if the dog has picked up anything along the way, because that happens in locations like when you bring something from north, they always say, yeah, we got papers. I do too, I got papers. But they don't say anything too much about my health, you know. You gotta pacify them, give them a toy or something. Like I said, people have dogs. I've seen people have a dog just to have a dog. Why do you have the dog? Well, the kids like the dog. What do the kids do? Stick their finger in the eye, and when they're old enough, they don't even take care of the dog. You know? You gotta have some heart. You gotta make some sense out of this stuff, because they're the best thing going. They're the closest thing to you that it ever be. Ever be. Believe me. I said here that, what did I say about it? That dogs were delivered by the Holy Spirit. We should treat them as such, because that's how they treat us. Okay, we got to take care of them. Got to do good things for them. And when you do that, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good because you're doing something good not only for the animal, but for the community. It teaches children compassion. They say if kids are mean in that, they'll be mean when they grow up. And I believe it. I believe that, because if you can be mean to a defenseless animal, you're going to be the kind that's going to kick anybody. You know, that's not fair. And I think that we should take. So when you see a dog, hey, dog is nice. Be careful when you go to pet them. It's the back of the hand. If you want, you always ask. Now they have little things on them that says you can't pet them because they'll bite you. All right? But you always ask before you pet the dog. You know, kids pet them. You can't do that. Right? Can I pet your dog? Yeah, he's fine. Use the back of the hand, stroke them a little. You're happy. They're happy. Paul is cranking a little clock on him. We got 3 minutes to go. Anyway, I want to tell you, obesity, poor sleeping conditions, neglect, those are signs of cruelty. It doesn't have to be cutting. You see people walk their dog dragging them. I saw a guy, he's riding his bicycle and he's got the dog tethered to the bike with him. That's insane. Insane. Oh, and I got to still go back. All you gun lovers. It's just another day in the office for these guys when somebody walks into a building and shoots up a bunch of people, especially kids, and they'll fight it tooth and nail. But the young people are still taking care of it, and I hope they stick with it. I have no respect for anybody that wants to do something like that. People believe, you know, I believe in guns. I believe the police should have them, the military should have them, and people who belong to, you know, teams, sports teams that fire at targets, and some hunting. I don't like hunting, but, you know, that's hunting. But to have a gun, you know how big and tough these guys are? They got a multi-magazine on their back, on a machine gun across their back. I don't know what that guy's going to do if a guy draws a pistol and puts it in his face. You know, it's still strapped to his back. Well, they got to love that, you know. And how come when they get these guys, they always got 20 or 30 guns? And what did the kid do the other day? He used a shotgun and a revolver, and he said he wanted to use something that had never been used in a mass murder. And so he did. What a delight. He got his wish. Isn't that nice, huh? I'm glad they catch these people. I don't know if it's doing good. And I listened to some of these guys from the National Rifle Association, when they talk about securing a school, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. Securing a school, I could do better than that on the back of an envelope. There are better ideas, but you can't enforce them because of the gun lobby. What I like here, I saw a sign a kid was holding up, looked like a college student. It says, you can't fix stupid, but you can vote it out. And I like that one. I don't want you to forget that when November comes, because we got some stupid people and we hear some stupid things, don't we? If you turn on your TV and you hear some of these guys talking, I go, whoa, where did you go to school, boy? You know? It's terrible what they insult us, what they bring into our living rooms. My God. Well, this was not a call-in show, so if you're trying to call in, I'll do one of those. What I would like is if you would send some ideas to me. I'm on humaneroy.com, and if you humaneroy5.com, and if you got any ideas, send them to me, because I know some of this stuff is boring too, but I like to blow it off. And there's good ideas out there. There's information out there that we should all know that we don't know. So especially when someone's being hurt. You know, I believe in, you know, the hurting of the children and so forth. It's terrible. But it's, you know, shooting in the schools. But I like I say, you know, you can't fix stupid, but you can vote it out. I hope to see you the next time.